Caryn selling Amy's secrets to Hollywood? The leaked script that portrays Amy as the villain of Roloff Farms has just hit the internet, and you are not going to believe who is allegedly behind the camera pulling the strings. Watch Chris Marek shut down this million-dollar betrayal because sources are saying this is the most vicious move in the history of the show. Welcome back to LPBW Update, where today we are digging into a story that is so explosive it threatens to tear the entire Roloff legacy apart. We are talking about an unauthorized biopic, a defamation trap, and a secret deal that was supposed to stay buried in a Hollywood producer's office. If you thought the farm negotiation was the end of the drama, you need to listen closely, because insider reports suggest that the war for the Roloff reputation has just gone global. We have to start with the rumor that started it all. About 2 weeks ago, a blind item appeared on a popular entertainment gossip site. It was vague, but for anyone who has followed Little People Big World for the last 2 decades, the clues were undeniable. The post claimed that a production company in Los Angeles was fast-tracking a dramatic movie based on a famous reality TV family that runs a farm in the Pacific Northwest. Now, usually we would brush this off as fan fiction or just another rumor mill churning out content. But then, the details started to get specific. The blind item mentioned that the film would focus on the bitter divorce and the heroic new girlfriend who tried to save the family business. Immediately, red flags started going up. We know the narrative that has been pushed for years, but a movie? That takes things to a completely different level. At first, the word on the street was that Amy Roloff laughed this off. According to sources close to the family, when the rumor first crossed her desk, she assumed it was a joke. She is used to the tabloid spinning stories, and she has moved on with her life. She has Chris, she has her cooking, and she has her own community. But that laughter allegedly turned to shock when a fan sent a DM that changed everything. This wasn't just a rumor anymore. It was a casting call sheet. For those who don't know, when a movie is being cast, breakdown services send out character descriptions to agents. A fan of the show who works in the industry supposedly spotted a casting notice for a project tentatively titled Small World, Big Divide. The character descriptions were absolutely brutal. We have analyzed the alleged text of this casting sheet, and it is horrifying. The lead female character, codenamed Annie, is described as ungrateful, chaotic, and emotionally unstable. The description explicitly states that the character is the villain of the story, who refuses to let go of the past and sabotages the family business out of spite. On the flip side, the character codenamed Caryn, and yes, the spelling was barely changed, is described as the level-headed savior, a victim of the ex-wife's wrath, and the only person trying to keep the family together. This isn't just a dramatization, this is a hit piece. This is a narrative designed to rewrite 20 years of history and cement Amy as the bad guy in the eyes of the world forever. This is where the theory gets dark. Who would have the specific details to fill a script with private family moments? Who has the motivation to paint themselves as the saint and the mother of the children as the sinner? Viewers have been speculating for years that there is a master plan behind the scenes, and this movie looks like the final act. But Amy wasn't the one who cracked the code. It was Chris Marek. We often talk about Chris as the nice guy, the realtor, the man who gets along with everyone, even Matt. But do not forget, Chris is a businessman, and he is fiercely protective of Amy. When he saw that casting sheet, reports suggest he didn't laugh. He went to work. Using his connections in the business world, Chris allegedly started digging into the production company listed on the casting call. It was a small, obscure LLC registered in California, the kind of shell company used to hide the real money behind a project. Most people would have stopped there, but Chris kept pulling the thread. He looked into the filing documents, the registered agents, and the signatory on the option agreement. And this is where the bombshell dropped. It wasn't Matt Roloff's name on the initial development deal. It wasn't a network executive. According to the theories circulating among insiders, the name listed as executive producer and story consultant was Caryn Chandler. Let that sink in for a second. If these reports are accurate, Caryn didn't just sign off on a movie. She is allegedly the architect of it. The theory is that she has been secretly meeting with C-list producers, selling them what is known in the industry as life rights. But here's the catch. She can sell her own life rights, but she cannot sell Amy's. To get around this, the leaked information suggests that Caryn provided exclusive diaries and private recollections to the screenwriters. These documents reportedly detail conversations that happened behind closed doors, moments where cameras weren't rolling, and highly subjective interpretations of the divorce. But here's the twisted part. Sources claim these diaries are fabricated. They are exaggerated retellings designed to make Amy look unhinged and Caryn look like the victim of a jealous ex-wife. Why would she do this? We have to look at the motive. The show is in its twilight years. The steady paycheck from the network won't last forever. Matt's assets are tied up in the farm, which is a complicated financial mess. Caryn, according to long-standing viewer theories, has always been about securing the bag and securing her status. An option deal for a movie can be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars up front, with millions on the back end if it gets made. But it's not just about the money, it is about the legacy. Caryn knows that in the eyes of the public, she will always be the other woman, the employee who dated the boss. This movie is her attempt to launder her reputation. By controlling the script, she controls the history. She wants the world to see a dramatic reenactment where she is the hero who tried to save Matt from a miserable marriage. Imagine the betrayal here. Matt and Amy have a truce. They have found a way to coexist for the sake of the grandkids. If Matt knew about this, it's a betrayal of the mother of his children. But if Matt didn't know, then Caryn is going behind his back to sell out his family's secrets for a paycheck. However, the darker theory is that Matt might have been manipulated into thinking this was good publicity. We know Matt loves Hollywood. He loves the idea of being a mogul. Did Caryn pitch this to him as a way to boost the farm's value? Did she tell him it would be a flattering portrayal of his struggles? It is entirely possible she played on his ego to get him to sign a consulting waiver, while she handled the dirty work of feeding the writers the anti-Amy propaganda. The timeline of these secret meetings allegedly lines up with the recent trips they have taken to Arizona and California. While fans thought they were just snowbirding, insiders believe Caryn was taking meetings in Burbank, sitting down with script doctors, and handing over folders of dirt on Amy. We are talking about private arguments, financial disputes, and sensitive information about the kids that Amy has fought to keep off the show. The leaked script apparently includes a scene that mocks Amy's cooking, her hosting skills, and even her relationship with the kids, twisting it to make her look controlling. It is a systematic character assassination disguised as entertainment. Chris Marek was reportedly the one who put the pieces together and realized the scale of the threat. This wasn't just a low-budget indie film. They were shopping this to major streaming services. If this movie got made, it would be on Netflix or Hulu forever. It would be the first thing people see when they Google the Roloff name. It would humiliate Amy on a global scale. And the worst part? Caryn was allegedly planning to pocket the option money as a consulting fee, keeping the finances separate from Matt's accounts so that if things went south, she had her exit fund. The moment Chris presented this evidence to Amy, the dynamic changed instantly. We are used to seeing Amy take the high road. We are used to seeing her roll her eyes and move on. But you cannot simply move on when someone is trying to monetize your destruction. This is where the story shifts from a gossip column rumor to a high-stakes legal drama. Amy realized that her silence had been taken for weakness. She realized that as long as she stayed quiet, Caryn would keep pushing the boundaries. But selling her life rights without consent? That is the line in the sand. As we move into the deeper of this investigation, you need to understand the legal peril Caryn has put herself in. She walked into a trap of her own making. She assumed Amy wouldn't find out until the cameras were rolling. She assumed Amy wouldn't have the resources or the stomach for a fight. She was wrong. Chris Marek isn't just standing by. He is rallying the troops. And what happens next is not just a cease and desist letter, it is a total dismantling of Caryn's master plan. We are about to look at how Amy turned the tables, the high-powered lawyer she allegedly hired, and the panic that set in when the production company realized they had bought a stolen story. We have to go deeper into the mind of the person pulling the strings, because what we are witnessing here isn't just a simple case of reality TV drama. It is a calculated, strategic move to rewrite history. To understand why Caryn would allegedly risk everything to sell a movie script that destroys Amy, we have to look at the psychology of the situation. For years, viewers have pointed out that Caryn seems to struggle with her place in the narrative. She is the girlfriend, the manager, the companion, but she is not the mother. She is not the woman who built the farm from the ground up while raising 4 children. Insider theories suggest that this has always been a sore spot, a chip on her shoulder that has grown heavier with every season. This unauthorized biopic was her chance to flip the script. In her version of the story, the character based on her isn't the other woman. She is the stabilizer. She is the one who steps into a chaotic, broken home and brings order. But to make herself the hero, she needs a villain. And that is where the betrayal becomes truly dark. Sources close to the production development whisper that Caryn didn't just sell the rights, she sold a specific narrative. She allegedly convinced Matt that this movie was going to be his legacy project. You know Matt. He is a visionary, a dreamer, a man who loves big ideas. If you tell him Hollywood wants to make a movie about his life as a successful farm owner overcoming the odds, he is going to sign the paper. The theory is that Caryn manipulated Matt's ego. She likely framed it as a business opportunity and a chance to immortalize Roloff Farms. She reportedly told him that for the movie to sell, it needed dramatic tension. She needed him to sign over the rights to their personal history so the writers could flesh out the conflict. Matt, thinking about the box office and the fame, signed the consulting deal. But what he didn't realize, according to these explosive reports, is that Caryn was the one feeding the specific anecdotes to the writers. Anecdotes that Matt might not even remember, or that were twisted beyond recognition. Let's talk about these exclusive diaries that were mentioned in the leaked production notes. We are hearing that the script contains scenes that are shockingly invasive. There is allegedly a sequence that depicts the divorce negotiations not as a painful separation of 2 people who grew apart, but as a calculated sabotage by the wife character to bankrupt the farm. The script reportedly features a scene where the Amy character is shown deliberately destroying business deals out of spite. We know this is false. We watched the show. We saw Amy agonizing over the decision to leave the farm. But in Hollywood, the truth doesn't matter. The story does. Caryn was allegedly banking on the fact that general audiences wouldn't know the difference. She was creating a permanent record where Amy is the bitter obstacle and Caryn is the saintly solution. But there is a financial angle here that we cannot ignore. Why now? Why push for a movie deal at this specific moment? Follow the money. Rumors have been swirling for months that Matt and Caryn's finances are more separate than they appear. While they are building a dream home, Caryn is a smart woman. She knows that without a ring, her claim to the Roloff fortune is complicated. An option deal for a biopic, with an executive producer credit, is money that goes directly into her pocket. It is her nest egg. It is her insurance policy. If the show gets canceled tomorrow, Matt still has the land, or what's left of it. But what does Caryn have? This movie deal was allegedly her way of cashing out on the Roloff fame independently. She was selling the one thing she had access to, the secrets. She was monetizing the family trauma for her own retirement fund. However, Caryn made a fatal miscalculation. She underestimated Amy Roloff. For years, Caryn has watched Amy take the high road. She has watched Amy bite her tongue at family gatherings and smile through the awkwardness. Caryn likely assumed that Amy would be too embarrassed to fight back, or that she wouldn't want to draw more attention to the movie. She thought Amy would play the victim. Instead, Amy played the boss. When Chris Marek confirmed the details of the production and Caryn's involvement, Amy didn't cry. She got angry. And we're not talking about the frustration you see on the show. We're talking about a cold, focused fury. Amy knows her worth. She knows that she is the heart of the show, and she knows that you cannot tell the story of the Roloff family without her. But more importantly, she knows her rights. You cannot make a movie about a living public figure, using their real-life events, portraying them in a defamatory light, and selling it for profit without their consent. That is the definition of a legal trap, and Caryn walked right into it. The counterstrike began quietly. Amy didn't go to Instagram. She didn't post vague quotes about betrayal. She went straight to a high-powered entertainment law firm in Portland with connections to Los Angeles. This wasn't a family lawyer. This was a shark. The type of lawyer who deals with intellectual property theft and defamation for A-list celebrities. The strategy they devised was brilliant and aggressive. They knew that suing for slander is hard because you have to prove damages, but they had a stronger angle, right of publicity and false light. The legal team allegedly drafted a blistering cease-and-desist letter, but not just to Caryn. They went for the jugular. They targeted the production company. In Hollywood, production companies are terrified of lawsuits. They want clean titles and clean rights. If there is even a whiff of a legal battle, they will drop a project faster than you can blink. Amy's lawyers drafted an injunction that laid out the facts. Caryn Chandler does not own the rights to Amy Roloff's life. The diaries provided were claimed to be unauthorized and fraudulent. The narrative being constructed was verifiable defamation designed to harm Amy's business reputation. This is where the defamation trap snaps shut. By selling the story as based on true events, Caryn claimed it was factual. But since the script depicted Amy doing things she never did, like sabotaging the farm, it becomes defamation per se. If Caryn had sold it as pure fiction, she might have been safe. But she wanted the clout of the Roloff name. She wanted the true story tag. And that greed gave Amy the ammunition she needed. The letter reportedly warned the production company that if they proceeded with a single day of pre-production, Amy would sue for millions in damages, and she would name every single producer personally in the lawsuit. Chris Marek played a pivotal role here. While Amy was handling the legal strategy, Chris was reportedly handling the optics. He knows the real estate world, and he knows how small the business community is. He allegedly reached out to his own contacts to verify if Matt had actually signed off on the villain edit of Amy. The intel he got back was shocking. It appears Matt had signed a general life rights agreement, but he likely hadn't read the treatment. He had trusted Caryn. This put Matt in a terrible position. If the lawsuit went forward, Matt would be deposed. He would have to testify under oath about whether he agreed with Caryn's version of events. He would be forced to choose between his girlfriend and the truth. Chris knew this would terrify Matt more than anything. Matt hates confrontation when he isn't in control. The moment the legal papers arrived at the production company's office in Los Angeles, the mood shifted from excitement to panic. We are hearing reports that the head of the studio called an emergency meeting. They had been sold a bill of goods. Caryn had reportedly assured them that the family was on board and that Amy was out of the picture. The legal letter from Amy's team proved that was a lie. Suddenly, this wasn't a hot new reality movie. It was a radioactive, toxic asset. The producers started asking questions. They demanded to see the source material for the diaries. They demanded to know why Amy's signature wasn't on the chain of title. And where was Caryn while this was happening? The theory is that she was scrambling. She tried to tell Matt that Amy was just being jealous, that she was trying to block Matt's success. She tried to spin it as Amy being the bitter ex-wife once again. But the legal language is black and white. You cannot spin a subpoena. The injunction wasn't just a threat, it was a wall. Amy's lawyers made it clear, you will not profit from destroying this woman's reputation. The most satisfying part of this insider report is the description of the conference call that allegedly took place between Amy's lawyer, the production company's legal team, and Caryn's representative. Sources say Amy's lawyer didn't even raise his voice. He simply laid out the evidence. He showed that the timeline in Caryn's script didn't match the filming dates of the show. He proved the malicious intent. And then he dropped the ultimate ultimatum. drop the project immediately, destroy all copies of the script, and issue a formal retraction of rights, or prepare for a public trial that would expose every single text message and email Caryn has sent regarding this deal. The production company didn't hesitate. They are in the business of making money, not fighting losing battles for reality TV stars. They realized they had been played by Caryn just as much as Matt had. They saw a liability, not an asset. But the fallout from this meeting didn't just end in Hollywood. It reverberated all the way back to the farm. Matt was about to find out exactly what his consulting deal really cost, and Caryn was about to realize that she had overplayed her hand in the most spectacular way possible. We are approaching the final climax of this story, where the victory is secured and the aftermath leaves the farm dynamic changed forever. The house of cards Caryn built was falling down, and Amy was the one holding the match. The walls were closing in on the unauthorized biopic faster than anyone could have predicted. We left off with Amy's high-powered legal team dropping a nuclear option on the production company, threatening to expose every single fabricated detail in that script in open court. And this is where the story turns from a tense drama into a total rout. According to exclusive insider reports, the production company in Los Angeles didn't even wait for a court date. They didn't even wait for a formal response from Caryn's camp. The moment their legal department reviewed the evidence provided by Amy's lawyers, specifically the proof that the exclusive diaries were unsubstantiated and potentially defamatory, they folded. Sources suggest that within 48 hours of receiving the cease-and-desist order, the production company issued a notice of termination regarding the development deal. This is the death knell for any Hollywood project. It means they are not just pausing it, they are killing it. They are scrubbing their hands of the Roloff name because they realized they had walked into a minefield. The defamation trap that Caryn had unknowingly set for herself had snapped shut, but instead of catching Amy, it caught the producers. They realized that proceeding with a film that paints a living public figure as a villain based on lies isn't artistic expression. It is a multi-million-dollar liability. The victory for Amy was instantaneous and absolute, but for Caryn, the fallout was reportedly catastrophic. Let's talk about money. In these types of deals, you get a small amount up front, but the real money, the producer fee, and the purchase price only comes when the cameras start rolling. By the project getting killed in the development phase, Caryn allegedly lost out on a payout estimated to be in the six figures. The nest egg she was trying to build using Amy's reputation evaporated overnight. But losing the money is one thing. Losing the narrative is another. The most damaging part of this entire saga for Caryn isn't the lost check. It is the exposure. She has spent years curating an image of being the drama-free alternative to Amy. She has tried to position herself as the one who stays out of the fray. This secret deal completely destroys that mask. It reveals a level of calculation that even the most cynical viewers hadn't given her credit for. She wasn't staying out of the fray. She was trying to monetize it behind everyone's back. She was willing to sell out the mother of Matt's children for a credit on IMDb and a wire transfer. And where does this leave Matt Roloff? This is the part of the theory that is most fascinating. Matt prides himself on being a master businessman. He loves to tell us how he negotiates, how he envisions deals, how he is always 5 steps ahead. But in this scenario, he was the mark. He was the one who was playing. If the reports are true, Matt signed a consulting agreement without understanding that the project was a hit piece on his ex-wife. When the legal threat arrived and the production company backed out citing misrepresentation of rights, Matt was left holding the bag. He looked foolish. He looked like he had lost control of his own brand. Insiders speculate that the conversation at the farm following the cancellation of the movie was explosive. Matt hates being embarrassed. He hates legal trouble. And most of all, he hates wasting time on projects that fail. Caryn brought him a project that promised glory and riches, and instead, it brought a legal threat from Amy and a humiliated retreat from Hollywood. Matt now has to deal with the fact that he almost sanctioned a public attack on Amy, which would have alienated his children even further. Zach and Jeremy might have their issues with the farm, but they are fiercely protective of their mother's character. If that movie had gone forward, it would have been the final nail in the coffin for Matt's relationship with his sons. Matt likely realizes now that he dodged a bullet, but he only dodged it because Amy was smart enough to pull the trigger on a lawsuit first. This victory has shifted the power dynamic in a way we haven't seen in 25 seasons. Amy Roloff is no longer just the ex-wife living in the big house or the woman moving on with Chris. She is the gatekeeper. She has proven that she owns her story. She has proven that you cannot bypass her, you cannot slander her, and you certainly cannot profit from her pain without her permission. By shutting down this movie, she sent a message to every tabloid, every producer, and every family member who thinks they can use her as a stepping stone. The bitter ex-wife narrative is dead. She killed it with a single legal letter. The production company has reportedly scrubbed the project from their slate. The casting calls have been pulled down. The Annie and Caryn characters will never see the light of day. But the script, the physical evidence of Caryn's betrayal, still exists somewhere. And you have to wonder, does Matt have a copy? Did he read the scenes where Amy was mocked? Did he see the way Caryn wrote herself as the savior? If he has read it, and he is still standing by Caryn, then he is complicit. But if he hasn't read it, he needs to, because that script is a window into exactly what Caryn thinks of the Roloff family. She doesn't see them as people, she sees them as characters in her own story of success. Chris Marek deserves a massive amount of credit in this victory. He didn't just stand by, he investigated. He used his business acumen to protect his wife. This incident has solidified Chris and Amy as a united front. They are a team. In the past, viewers worried that Chris might be in it for fame, but this proves the opposite. A fame seeker would have wanted the movie to happen. A fame seeker would have wanted the drama. Chris wanted the project dead because he cares about Amy's peace more than he cares about the spotlight. He shut down a $1 million betrayal with quiet, calculated efficiency. So where do we go from here? The movie is dead, but the intent remains. Caryn tried to cross a line that cannot be uncrossed. She tried to rewrite history. The trust between the two camps, which was already fragile, is now shattered. We predict that the next season of the show, if there is one, will feel very different. The polite nods at graduations and weddings will be even colder. Amy knows what Caryn tried to do. She knows that beneath the smiles and the cha-ching comments, there was a plan to ruin her, and knowing that makes every interaction a battlefield. This unauthorized biopic was supposed to be Caryn's crowning achievement. It was supposed to be her version of the truth broadcast to the world. Instead, it became her biggest failure. She overplayed her hand. She underestimated Amy, she underestimated Chris, and she overestimated her own ability to manipulate the narrative. The defamation trap was real, but Amy wasn't the one who fell into it. Caryn did. And now she has to live with the fact that everyone knows she tried to sell out the family for a quick buck and failed. The Small World, Big Divide movie will never be made. But the real drama is what happens now that the secrets are out. Amy walked away with her reputation intact, her legal standing reinforced, and her head held high. Caryn walked away with nothing but a bruised ego and a very angry boyfriend. The farm is still standing, but the ground beneath it has shifted. The war for the legacy of Roloff Farms isn't over, but this battle belongs to Amy. Now, I want to turn this over to you, the LPBW update community. This story is one of the wildest theories we have ever covered, but it tracks with everything we know about the current dynamics. We saw ambition, we saw tension, and now we see betrayal. My question to you is this. If this movie had actually been made and they were casting the role of Caryn Chandler, the woman who tried to rewrite history to make herself the hero, who would you cast to play her? Would it be someone who can play the villain disguised as the victim? Or do you think Caryn should have played herself, since she seems to be acting every time the cameras are on anyway? And furthermore, do you think Matt knew the extent of the script, or was he truly blindsided by how vicious it was toward Amy? Let me know your casting choices and your theories in the comments below. Do not forget to hit that like button if you support Amy standing up for herself, and subscribe for more exclusive deep dives into the reality behind reality TV. We will be watching to see if Matt addresses this leaked script in the coming weeks. Until then, thanks for watching, and remember, the truth always comes out in the edit.